Good afternoon, everyone. It is Thursday, June 16th. That is why I'm smiling. I know that we're on a podcast, but I am smiling. And usually when I see camp people around, anytime after June 1st, I feel like I'm smiling and they're smiling, but there's a lot of pressure coming. And my name is Binyamin Krauss. I'm the principal of SAR. This is our podcast called Opening Up, where we're trying to talk about issues in education related to SAR and beyond. And at this point, we thought it would make sense to talk to some camp people. And I couldn't think of better camp people than the two guests that we have here. So like I said, as I'm smiling because tomorrow's the last day of school, the first day of camp is coming up pretty soon. I think Moshava IO goes first on June 28th and Morasha a couple of days after that. We are here with the director of Camp Moshava, Alan Silverman. He's been the director of Camp Moshava for over 30 years. I will say he was also my 7th and 8th grade, or maybe 8th grade, math teacher at SAR. I did very well in the Regents, and that is nothing to do with me, but all to do with my teacher. He has degrees in education and science education, was the assistant principal at SAR Academy in Riverdale before making Aliyah. Alan was also the educational director of B'nai Akiva of North America, has taught math and science. Alan and his wife Rachel live in Alon Shvut, and they have 5 children. Alan, thank you very much for being here. We are also here with Jeremy Joszef, the director of Camp Morasha. Jeremy's been the director of Camp Morasha for the last 10 plus years. So I guess we'll get an exact number in a second. Supervising all aspects of camp programming, staffing, facilities, fundraising, alumni development, board development, recruitment, and marketing. After studying at Shalavim, Jeremy attended Yeshiva University, where he graduated with a BA in marketing. During his time at YU, Jeremy ran Yeshiva University's Torah Leadership Network, Torah Tours, and worked as a freelance graphic designer, primarily doing work for the Center for the Jewish Future. Welcome, Jeremy.
Pleasure.
Thank you both for being here. And I will just say, again, in terms of a personal connection, first of all, as the principal of SAR, we have a lot of kids that go to lots of different camps, but we have a lot of students at SAR who go to Moshava and to Morasha. I myself was a Morasha Kollel participant, as well as the high school Kollel counselor back in the day. And my kids have gone. I have my daughter Perry went to Camp Morasha. My other kids went to Moshava, and we have a lot of love and respect for both of these institutions. So again, we really appreciate you taking the. I really appreciate you taking the time to be here today. Jeremy is at his home in Long Island, but how much time have you spent in Long Island over the last 6 weeks?
Yeah, not much. You could ask my wife; she could tell you exactly how many hours I've been home. It's a pleasure to be in camp, but it's also a pleasure to spend a few last moments at home as we get ready for the summer.
Okay, how about you, Alan?
Well, I've been here I've been here in camp in Pennsylvania since the beginning of May. We have a lot of pre-camp groups that come up here. We both high school groups. In fact, we had SAR 6th grade here, as we do annually. Big programs over Memorial Day and pre-parade and Shavuot. But bar mitzvah this weekend. So we're able to use the facility even before the big show starts. With staff coming up next week.
That's interesting. Maybe we'll jump into that. I mean, that feels like a new phenomenon. I think I know that actually our SAR seniors were at Morasha. I know that we had kids at Moshava. So I mean, has that become kind of more core to the business, so to speak, in terms of? And I know it's a not-for-profit. I know it's an educational institution, and we'll talk about that. But in terms of being open from, I don't know, is it Memorial Day to Labor Day, or is it beyond? Tell me about that.
We're sort of rule of thumb for. At least for Moshava would be May 15th through September 15th. Sometimes we'll start a little bit earlier. It gets cold. It stays cold at night here in the Pocono Mountains and can be very uncomfortable since we have limited heated facilities. And so we want to make sure that anyone who comes here at least has that potential to be comfortable. It's not always even later in May or beginning of June. It can still be cold at night, but at least there's a better chance that that won't happen. And yes, it's become more of a part of what's going on. We hosted, for example, Frisch last year for 5 or 6 days. Post-pandemic, we had 1,000 people here for 5 or 6 days in later May, beginning of June. So I think it does opportunity, and to have a beautiful facility, like we have and like Morasha has, and for it, obviously in the dead of winter we can't use it because we don't have enough winterized facilities, but to be able to use it, I think, is very, very important, especially as a nonprofit.
Jeremy, how about Morasha?
First of all, I want to say I love hearing the words post-pandemic from Alan Silverman. That just warms my heart to hear that. We view the rentals, to be completely honest, not so much as a profit-generating program and effort, but really we only host 2 or 3 events every year. We did have the SAR seniors this past Shabbos, which was beautiful, inspiring to watch that program happen. Really, really incredible.
I had a great time.
Yeah, it was incredible. And we actually hosted our first wedding. I know you just said, Alan, you were hosting bar mitzvah. We had our first wedding Memorial Day weekend, which was also very, very special. Yeah, it was very impressive how they transformed the facility for that. But we, to be completely transparent and honest, we use these rentals to force ourselves to get our facility ready. I'm not saying they're guinea pigs, but it is very helpful to know which showers don't have hot water yet before, like Alan said, the big show begins.
Great. So if you want to have your wedding at Morasha, you'll help us find out which showers don't work. And when our kids get there, everything's going to be perfect. Okay, good. Exactly. Good to know. Wow, that's really interesting. Okay, thanks for sharing that. So let's get to the core of this. And this is why we're having this conversation. I wrote some notes in front of me. Handoff from school to camp. I guess, right? Schools, it's interesting. SAR, they say, I take it as a compliment. I hope it's meant that way. People say, oh, SAR is like camp. And I think what they mean by that is kids hopefully feel good here, feel free here, etc. I don't know if you take it as a compliment if someone would say, Morasha, Moshava is like school. At the same time, I guess I would ask you, like, what are you? Is it a educational institution? Is it a mental health break or opportunity? Like, how do you see when you think about what you're trying to do and then you try to execute it? You've been doing this. They're talking about a combined 50 plus years over here. Like, how do you look at it? You could jump in. We'll figure it out. Jeremy, you're green on my screen.
Yeah, I mean, look, Alan is a legend here, so I feel foolish going before him in this question. But every camp has its own mission. So my answer might be different than Alan's, and Alan's might be different than another camp directors. All of them being beautiful. At Morasha, we certainly view camp as an educational experience, but we do believe that in a camp environment and setting, and how the campers are completely engulfed and immersed in an environment like summer camp, it's such a powerful opportunity to impact children for better and potentially for worse. The impact is so great. So we take that potential seriously, and we understand the educational value and potential that we could have in that type of immersive environment. But we view our mission is to not only educate. School we view as primarily in terms of formal education, but we think camp needs to be fun. We think the baseline of camp needs to be fun, needs to be exciting, needs to be filled with positive energy and creativity, creative programming. And through that vehicle of fun, through the events, through the trips, through the daily activities, that is where we educate our children on the courts, on the fields, in the studios, on the trips. So the question that we always grapple with as we're designing our program is how do we take this fun activity and infuse it, weave into it educational values or content. And those are 2 different things. Educational content sometimes is through an experiential educational event, and educational values could be anywhere in camp. And that's not only the programming that we design, but first and foremost, the staff that we hire.
Right. I was going to say that. I mean, you have a lot of educators, a lot of teachers who are teaching during the year are coming to camps over the summer. I know that firsthand. Sure.
That's true, but it is true. We have incredible formal educators that come, but we do believe that it's really the frontline staff, the ones that are interacting 24/7, the counselors, the specialty staff that really have that impact the most.
And maybe we'd say, kind of backwards, maybe a lot of those people who are kind of jumping into education through camp, then maybe they choose to become educators, whether it's formal or informal, because of their camp experience. So
you said you were one of them.
I was one of them. I was. Alan.
There's no question that camp is a profound immersive experience, giving the opportunity. In fact, based on my, having been at SAR for many years and working there both as a teacher and an administrator, that's where they might talk about SAR like being like a camp, because it truly is an immersive experience in terms of both the connections and the kind of atmosphere that's created there. But That's certainly what camp is all about. So a little bit different than Morasha. There's no question that kids come to camp because they want to have fun and they want to be with their friends in particular. But our raison d'etre for sure is a religious Zionist experience. That's a central part of what we do. And we expend a huge amount of effort and time and money. We have a team of people. I have 5 educators working year round, working on the summer theme that we integrate, somewhat similar to what Jeremy described, but through experiential learning, making it fun, making it active, with the more, but with the greater focus. For example, this summer, since it's 55 years since the reunification of Jerusalem, so we're celebrating learning about Jerusalem, we're learning about Yerushalayim. So the theme of Yerushalayim will permeate throughout all that we do during the week, on Shabbat in particular, with a wide variety of kinds of activities you might ask about later. For example, we always try to design a game, take let's say Ticket to Ride, and the kids all love to play Ticket to Ride. So we design our version of Ticket to Ride with the Jerusalem theme. And the kids, for example, especially on Shabbat. So in a fun way, they're sitting at a table with their friends, they're playing Ticket to Ride, they love the game, but they're learning all about Jerusalem. Right. We can have little kids that are running around trying to collect stickers to fill their sticker book because they're going to get some kind of prize. And each of the stickers is a story or somebody, a famous place, a famous person, or whatever it might be, etc. And a wide variety of other things. And I think that is something that for sure is unique, unique to us, and something that we really, together with the other things that we share, whether beautiful tefillot, limud Torah on a daily basis, but again in an active and engaging way. It's not meant to be school. School has its function and does it beautifully, and our job is now to extend it and do it in a different way. We want them really to love learning Torah in an out of school setting. Right.
And is the goal, I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I'll ask it anyway. Is the goal, you saw religious Zionism, is the goal Aliyah? Is the goal connection to Israel? Is the goal Hebrew language? I know that you bring, I don't know what the number is, 50, 100 people from Israel every summer?
Probably more than that. Certainly when I do the sessions with the staff and talk about the objectives of Camp Moshava, goals and objectives of what Moshava is about. So I certainly say that we see Aliyah as a central goal for all Jewish people throughout the world, and certainly in the United States. We know that not everyone's going to be able to do that, but that at least that all of our staff and campers should see that as a central goal for a Jewish person. We certainly make that a central role. For example, the last Shabbat of each month, we celebrate all those that are making Aliyah, all the campers and all the staff. We give out a backpack. It's become a big deal. They all look forward to it. And in fact, we have staff who later on decide to make Aliyah, and they'll contact us. Can we please have a Moshava backpack?
You get a one-way ticket to Israel and a backpack for Moshava. That's a pretty good deal.
Yep. And that's how I carry when I commute every other week. And that's what I carry. That's what I take on.
Sounds good. Right. Jeremy, is there a theme for this summer? Is there a theme every summer?
Yeah, I mean, there's clearly a difference between how we approach education in camp. Moshava, not to speak for Moshava, certainly has this incredible singular focus of religious Zionism. Sometimes having that one singular focus, because it's so, there's so much emphasis on it, it's so powerful. In Morasha, we certainly have a broader perspective on education. It centers certainly more around Jewish values. We have 7 core values at every camper. I believe I will challenge anyone listening to this to stop any Morasha camper or staff member to name the 7 values. I believe they will be.
We always wonder about that. We have a theme of the year, and we always wonder if they got whatever we wrote in our memos. But okay, I'm happy
the values are consistent though every summer. That's not an annual thing. We do have an annual educational theme on parallel to the values of the camp, but whether it's mutual respect, something we call observant study, not only learning about your Judaism, but living it, responsibility, appreciation, skill building, heart and soul, and achta. Those 7 core values are woven through everything we do, just in terms of living in the camp community. And then, yes, there's an educational theme that's different each summer, like SAR has in their academic school year. We've had various themes like Count Your Blessings. This past year was recognition, appreciating recognizing all the blessings in our life. And then this coming summer is People of Passion, which is not only doing things that we are expected to do, but to do it, and not with apathy, but with passion, and with a positive energy, which I think we feel is something that our kids these days really need a little bit more of.
Right. Wonderful. Let's talk about, obviously I've been to visiting day, although I think you don't have visiting day this year.
We do.
Oh, you do? It's back? Okay. Morasha has visiting day
back.
and Moshava does not. We'll talk about that. We could talk about COVID in a second, or post-COVID in a
to?
second. No, we don't have to. But it definitely feels like camp, and as it should. Camp has changed since I went to camp 30 years ago or 35 years ago. How would you describe that in terms of the programs that you're offering, in terms of the kids' expectations or parents' expectations? Maybe give me a couple of key differences that you can think of then and now, the 80s and now.
I was being born in the 80s.
Okay, the 90s.
I can tell you what I heard. I'll take this one first, I guess. Yeah, there's clearly a difference in camping now than there was, but that makes sense because the world is different. The context in which we find ourselves is different. There are certainly very tangible things that make it different. The fact that technology affords the opportunity, I think it is an opportunity, but it also could be a challenge of instant communication between home and camp. Is a great opportunity for us to be able to share the incredible things that are happening back to the parents at home, but it also gives the parents an opportunity to quickly, and I'm sure you know this as an administrator, and your kids go home every day,
right,
and are able to so that's a different dynamic. But for the parents to be able to email us and call us, which we love to hear from them and communicate with them, but it's a lot. It's definitely the job of a director now. In terms of our own roles, my role and Alan's role is just different, and what our day looks like is different now that we have a cell phone and email address than I would imagine Tzvi Reich had in 1964. And then in terms of the programming and vibe of the camp, kids are exposed to experiences throughout the year that are just elevated experiences. And there's two ways to approach that. And perhaps Alan and I might have, I don't want to be presumptuous here, but there are different philosophies and approaches of how to approach that in terms of the experiences that a lot of the children in our community are blessed to have, and how that could translate into the programming of camp. We have it's not, I don't want to call it a slogan because that implies marketing. We have an evaluation in camp called Happy or Jappy. We are here to make our kids happy. We are not here to make them spoiled or feed into any sense of entitlement. So when we're talking about a program, or we're talking about a concert, or we're talking about a carnival, or we're talking about a trip, will that make them happier? And therefore, through that enjoyment, we're able to accomplish our primary mission of education. Or is it feeding into any sense of Jappiness, entitlement? So that's an evaluation that we have to make. We are not perfect at it. But it is something we take seriously. So when we're talking about, let's say this isn't a programming thing, there's a facility thing, when we're talking about air conditioning in the bunks.
Happy or Jappy?
So for years I said Jappy, and I fought against that for many, many years because I grew up in camp without that, and I thought that was over the line of Jappy, to the Jappy side of the scale. But over the years, my very wholesome camp mom from Charleston, South Carolina, now lives in Queens. You might know her. She is the most down to earth, wholesome, camp mom and staff member we have. And she said, Jeremy, I know you're against the air conditioning. Come into a bunk. It was when I was wearing glasses, my glasses fogged up. It was incredibly not only hot but tangibly humid. And I said, this is a safety thing. I would not want my own children. I have younger children; they're not in bunks yet. I would not want my own children to have this in our bunks. Our bunks are insulated, so perhaps they're hotter than other camps. So it went from me thinking to really a safety decision, and this is really to make them happy and safe and healthy, and not so there is that evaluation, and camp certainly has changed over the years of what an experience at summer camp might look like, programmatically, facility wise, et cetera.
But I love that way of thinking about it, and thinking about whether this is just kind of giving into something that's really not consistent with your values, or whether it's just, okay, things change and needs perhaps. How about Alan? What's different? I know there's a ropes course. I don't think there was a ropes course in the 80s.
Well, there was, but it was totally different.
Didn't work.
It was the old style Omega,
I remember the Omega. Yeah, go ahead.
That was a camp. So I think, long time ago when I took over and before, Moshava I was known for its ruggedness, et cetera, in all ways, both in terms of the facility, in terms of the kinds of activities and programs, et cetera. And, after I took over 38 years ago, and in the first 10 years, it became clear that really wasn't an option. We had to improve the facilities, both the physical facilities and the kind of activities and programs that we offered. So we've done that. We've greatly improved the facilities, both the grounds and the facilities, and obviously with a more modern focus on safety, both for everyone involved, et cetera, safety and training in all areas. And I think we see that we're not up to air conditioning in the bunks. We're still in that sense, although a lot of times I found that when I go into a really hot bunk, all the windows were closed because in the morning it was cool. And they closed the windows, and then later in the afternoon when it get hot, no one opened the windows, and so there was no ventilation. It doesn't mean it does get hot. I think that by itself is a huge difference. The amount of staff that we have, the amount of adults that we have in camp has grown significantly. I think that's the kind of supervision, the kind of direction that parents are looking for as far as their children go. The number of psychologists that we have in camp, and not just the number of medical professionals, all pretty much in all areas, both in terms of programmatic areas, support areas, in terms of taking care of children, in terms of the number of counselors. When I was growing up, it was one counselor per bunk. And I would be upset if someone would suggest to me there needs to be a second counselor. These are my kids. I'll have my 10 or 12 kids or 15 kids. They're mine. I want them, kind of thing. And now we have 3 counselors per bunk, sometimes even more. And the kind of support that they need, the direction they need, has changed significantly with the world and with the needs and with some of the issues that Jeremy mentioned before.
Right.
Certainly, whether post-pandemic or close to post-pandemic, however you want to call it, we certainly, and I know Jeremy's seen it, you've certainly seen it in school, but socialization skills where kids were not in school at all, were at home for long periods of time, didn't have the opportunity to socialize in the same way. This year, of course, has helped now. Everyone's back in school. But we certainly saw it last summer in terms of the kind of support that we had, that we had to provide. Other kinds of issues. You're seeing more anxiety and depression, other kinds of issues that need to be worked through. And therefore, we've hired a lot more staff to make sure, a lot more focus during staff training on mental health and other kinds of issues besides all the safety and legal and other things that we're responsible to present to the staff in terms of their orientation.
Got it. Okay, that's helpful in terms of the way you think about that, and to. Right. You're right. Obviously, it's interesting. Whenever I talk to people that come from Israel, they want to know how many teachers we have in a classroom, and they're shocked by the ratio. So sometimes it's cultural, sometimes it evolves with time, but things do change, and that's really interesting to hear about. The last couple of conversations we had on this podcast were around school affordability. It was around our budget season. Then the second one was around government support for schools, but it's really all around affordability. And I want to talk about that. I mean, living in the modern Orthodox community and the Orthodox community is hard. I mean, there's a lot of conversation about the challenges of giving your kids a day school education. And when it comes to camp, I think I don't know if you hear about it as a crisis in the same kind of way. Maybe people don't talk about it, but the truth is, you're talking about 10 weeks off. I mean, people need to be doing something with their kids. Camp is not, I don't see it. I don't know if most people see it as a luxury, but really something that's an important part of a child's development. I'd be interested, and I know that there are different camps think about this differently. I actually know that both of you are partners of ours, really in terms of trying to help kids get to camp and help make it affordable. And I'm really proud of some of the things that have happened with all of us and the partnerships that we've been able to have and the communication that we've had regularly to allow kids to go to camp. But maybe can you give us a little bit of a window into the economics of camp? You don't have to put your budget on the screen or anything like that, but where are where's it all coming from? Where's it going? The expense side, the revenue side, just, give us a little bit of a window into that. Jeremy, go ahead.
I think camp is different than school because school is community-based, geographic-based, and therefore kids within the community have only a certain amount of options that are geographically within a certain radius of distance to their residence. Camp is different. Everyone is traveling for the most part to a camp, so they can choose a camp that fits best demographically, financially, for their own personal interest. That being said, we want to have, philosophically, our camp wants to have a wide range of families that attend our camp. I think every camp is expensive. It's in our modern Orthodox cohort of camps. It's expensive. You know, we're talking about thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars. So we want to make sure that people have the opportunity to experience what we have to offer. So we have two different scholarship opportunities that we are proud of. One of them is a typical scholarship program where, you know, if you could roughly afford a sleepaway experience, but you want to come to the Morasha experience, which might be a little bit more, a little bit harder to reach, you know, pay that full price. We have a scholarship process similar to school that people could apply for a scholarship. There's a form, you know, what you might find on a regular form, and we've awarded. We're proud to be able to award every single person who applied and was eligible for a scholarship. We were able to afford that scholarship to every single family that asked for one. Then there are kids that just can't afford any camp. It's just not in the cards to be able to spend that type of money. So we have a secondary scholarship program called the Outreach Scholarship Program, which you know about, which we partner with school principals, who are more in the know of kids who might not be able to attend any sleepaway camp, that we have this outreach program that we partnered, like I said, with the principals, that they can nominate campers, students in their schools who have no plans for the summer, who are not able to afford any day camp, certainly any sleepaway camp, and they're able to nominate those children who could benefit from a sleepaway overnight experience. And we take those nominations and we've accepted every single camper who was nominated for this year for a second session experience at camp at an incredibly reduced rate, most of whom the school ends up paying for, or they have other outside funding. So we're proud of those two scholarships. Where does the money come from? It comes out of our operating budget. That's something that the camp, you know, includes in our operating budget.
And just for a second about the expenses, like what are the biggest costs? I would imagine food. You're serving 3 meals a day. I'm trying to serve one. So
food, salaries, yeah, those two.
Food, salaries, insurance. Maintenance of the facility. We both have large facilities with many buildings and many things to take care of that really add up over the course. Again, there's a lot of wear and tear, believe it or not. There's in the summer when people are in them, but just the winters are quite harsh. And there's really a lot to do. Similar to Jeremy, we have a full financial aid program, giving a wide variety of support to both those who need moderate amounts and those who need significant amounts. We also partner with many schools, including with SAR, in terms of trying to get those children who either need to be in camp and can't afford it at all, or need significant help, and we're involved with that as well. We've started since the pandemic, when we weren't open in 2020, and of course that was, everyone knows that you have fixed costs no matter what, and it was obviously we had zero income in that year, and therefore lost a lot of money. So we started fundraising campaigns to help the scholarship and to help to deal with the loans and other things we had to do to be able to make it through and continue to run a high level program and take care of the facility the way it needs to be taken care of. But as far as costs, I think all of us, we set our prices in let's say August or early September. And now we all know that the world is, in the last 10 months or 11 months, has changed significantly, and the costs have gone up in all areas. Last year, maybe we were paying a little bit below $3 a gallon in gasoline, and I just filled up at 5:30 here down in Honesdale, Pennsylvania, and everything that's related to gas. The cost of food has gone up significantly. Chain of supply, getting things that you need, you have to pay a lot more for almost everything. Obviously, we're not raising our prices. Just yesterday, when I was reviewing our bus costs, we have a lot of busing costs. Our bus company said, by the way, we're adding a 10% surcharge. for gasoline. Now, we're not passing on a 10% surcharge to our parents, despite the fact that the costs are going to probably be more than that. And that's going to create a real a challenge for us as we think, in our boards, and we meet and try to figure out what are we going to do for next year, unless there's some kind of crazy change over the summer that we don't anticipate.
Right.
But right now, and I hear this from many camp directors, and I'm sure from Jeremy as well, that we know that the budgets that we made in the fall are simply not anywhere accurate. They're
Right.
way off.
Right. And listen, I'm sure, both families and institutions and businesses, I guess, are all,
We're all
trying
in
to
the same
figure this
boat.
out.
We're
It's
not-
a challenging time for sure. I would,
And we certainly know the challenge to families in terms of Jewish education. And as we said throughout this, we're partners, we're a team working together. You're taking care of them, at 9-10 months a year. We're taking care of them in the summer for a month or for 2 months. And as a team, we're working together to make sure that they're growing in all the ways that we're committed to. And
Right.
we want to try to make it as affordable as we possibly can.
sure.
One other thing that is true is that we hire, and I'm sure it's true for Jeremy as well, we hire a lot of staff. And I can tell you significantly more than we need to effectively run the camp, because they're also an important target group in the sense that they need to be in a wholesome Jewish environment where they can be both contributing, they get paid obviously, but they're contributing, with being a dugmai sheet and being a personal example and setting the atmosphere and doing all the things that they do. They're in the trenches really educating the kids, but that's number one. But they're also getting educated. They're not in a place where they're just working and going home at night and watching the computers or whatever they might be. They're in a wholesome Jewish environment with a chance to meet other young people their age. And also we provide them with serious educational opportunities during the summer, as well as the social and the fun and all the other kinds of things. And that's an important part of what we do. And so, let's say we have X number of kids, and some people hear how many staff we have. Well, oh my gosh, how come you have so many staff? And the answer is that's why we have so many staff, because that's part of our mission as a nonprofit and as a mission-driven camp, to be able to provide that opportunity.
That's a really important point. So it's actually the staff, and again, I could say it as a parent of staff members in your camp, Alan, and I could say it as from my experience in Morasha as well, that those are very, very positive and formative experiences for our older kids. And I've never thought of it that way in terms of hiring staff as part of your mission, but it makes a lot of sense. Jeremy, you feel the same way?
Yeah. I guess just to put a fine. Yeah, I think one of the reasons, there were so many reasons why Alan mentioned the COVID summer when we had to decide to close. One of the hardest parts of that decision, like I said, amongst many, was because not only were the campers going to lose out on these transformative experiences, but the staff, these teenagers, they gain so much and grow so much from their experience working at camp, and having that responsibility and that expectations that they really rise to those expectations and to the occasion. For them to miss out also on their staff here was a huge loss, and made that decision very, very difficult.
Sure.
Also,
quick. Go ahead, Al. Go ahead.
I just wanted to emphasize, as at Morasha, the leadership opportunities that they have, whether as counselors or division heads and other kinds of areas that they work, are really, really important. In fact, our argument, Jeremy and I have certainly talked about this, is, often we're competing with internships, and that often parents feel our child has to have an internship because they're going into this area, or they, or some other area. And our argument is, you know what? They come to camp, they serve in leadership roles. Most employers look at that and really value it tremendously, perhaps even more than doing a brief internship where perhaps they're not really being challenged or learning all that much anyway. And I'm certainly writing recommendations all the time, all year. Every year I get requests for recommendations on a wide variety of things. And I can tell you that when I speak to employers or when I write to them, they really appreciate it. Say, this is meaningful to us. These are the kind of people that we want to employ in the future. So camp really fulfills a multiplicity of roles in so many areas, both for campers and for staff and all the people that are involved.
There were so many years when I was like 18, 19, 20, when people were like, Jeremy, when are you going to get a real job already? And I look at him like, The things I'm doing are so real. I don't know. So what do you mean by that question? I completely agree with Alan.
Very real and affecting a lot of lives. I'm going to finish within the next 3 minutes, but very quick. I guess some numbers. How many kids in camp, staff are coming to your camps in this summer? Oh, roughly. Don't give me an exact number. I know that it changes every day, but
We're going to see probably close to 1,600 different campers between all the programs and about 700 different staff members over the course of the 2 months.
Yeah, I don't like to scare our parents, so I'm going to say this roughly the same as Alan. We're very excited and we care about every single one of them.
we'll take it. 1,600 and 700 times 2. That's a lot of people that you're taking care of. A lot of people obviously responsible for it. And I know that you do great work. Again, just going back that last thing, that partnership that we have is, I hope that some of our listeners from the outside will appreciate that and hopefully, replicate it, because to be able to know that you could send, any kid that should be in camp can be in camp. But when you have a partnership between schools and we have, thank God, people within our schools who wanted to support it, and then partnerships with camps to do that. It's a very, very beautiful thing. How many days till camp starts?
12.
28th. What's today? The 16th. 12 days.
Well, you both started. It's okay. There you go. June 28th. That's pretty soon. I wish you a good summer, a safe summer, a healthy summer, productive summer. Not so much rain, if that's what you wish for. I guess you got rain plans, but
better than last year, hopefully.
I know that the kids are going to love it. I know it's going to be a great experience, and I wish you a lot of strength. And I'm sure you'll be smiling in September when I see you, and I got to go back to my day job.
Yeah, we have disproportionate faces, like inverse faces in the calendar months. So
it's all good. Thanks for what you do, and thanks for taking the time in a busy season. And Alan, you should pick up that phone at this point. Time.
It's ringing in the office in New Jersey. So
to talk to us. Thank you very
sorry
very much.
about that. I couldn't.
Thank you, Yael.
When I turned it off, the internet went off. It's connected to the phone, so I figured I better not do that.
Okay. No, it's all good. It's all good.
All
Good
right.
luck.
Okay.
And stay safe. Thank you. Thank you.